70 years ago, two brothers stood on a beach. They drew in the wet sand the shape of a car. That car changed the shape of how people live. Then, today, and tomorrow. Born with the strength to take on all challenges. In every corner of the globe, it built a family of vehicles for all seasons, surfaces, and situations. Each one as at home in the jungle as it is in the urban jungle. No desert too dry, no mountain too high. Capability giving people the power to achieve remarkable feats. Not just any SUV, a family of game-changing SUVs, where each breaks new ground in their own individual ways. A cut above the rest. Driven by royalty, prized by presidents, celebrated by celebrities. Giving people the power to fulfill their dreams and achieve the things they never dreamt of. Brawn and brains, strength and subtlety, power, passion and panache. Pushing the boundaries, refinement that is versatile, luxury that is durable, capability with composure. Born on a beach and always, always going above and beyond.
Nick, where exactly are we and what goes on here?
We're in Gaydon, the pioneering hub of engineering for Land Rover. And this building we're in here today is where the environmental subsystem testing is conducted. We basically conduct every test here to really make sure that Land Rovers push the boundaries of technology.
What is it exactly that you do every day?
Firstly, I'm an engineer, and I'm an engineer at heart, creating products, creating systems, and creating parts of those vehicles that are really pushing the boundaries is what I love to do every day.
April the 30th is a really important date for Land Rover. Why exactly?
Well, April the 30th is when the Land Rover, the Series 1, was first revealed in Amsterdam. The world saw what Land Rover was all about.
Now, you don't only work at Land Rover, but you own a lot of Land Rovers as well, and you very kindly brought some in today. Can you tell me about this one here? Fern, I believe she's called.
My daughter names all of the cars, and this one is called Fern because it's the light green, which the early vehicles were. It's absolutely a love to drive.
You have a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with you today. What fascinates you about that?
So this is one of the new 18 model year Range Rover. It's got a 4-cylinder gasoline engine, but also it's got an electric motor and a battery pack. And I can actually, every morning, drive from my house, which is 10 miles down the road, all the way in electric mode to here at work.
So you've had a fantastic history. What's the future looking like?
We'd like to think that we've had a fantastic 70 years. We're just getting going. I promise you that passion in Land Rover is more than ever before, and you'll see more pioneering products. And 70 years, it's just a beginning. We're still young.
Quick potted history of Land Rover. After the Amsterdam Motor Show, it became known as the Series 1. Then, after lots of improvements, in 1958, we have the Series 2. Then, more improvements, 1971, the Series 3. Then, it was called the 90 for the short wheelbase, and then the 110 for the long wheelbase. And then, in 1990, it became known as the Defender. So 68 years of continuous production. And most of those Land Rovers would appear to be here. Welcome to the biggest Land Rover toy shop in the world.
We called ourselves the Oxford and Cambridge Far Eastern Expedition. And 62 years ago, we set out to do something that nobody had ever done before, and that was to drive from Europe to Singapore entirely by land.
I took two Range Rovers from Alaska to Cape Horn, a distance of 17,084 miles, and amongst the trip was a trip between the Darien Gap. It was just to show our expertise as a nation and what we can achieve.
We'd wanted to get on Camel Trophy for years.
It was hailed as the ultimate off-road adventure, and it's just something we both wanted to be part of.
There's a real authenticity to Land Rover, which makes them very special.
It's a British brand, and I think the nation has good cause to be proud of it. Good on you.
Happy 70th Land Rover, the only car I ever won on an adventure.
Look at this baby, 70 years old. Doesn't she look great? Happy birthday, Land Rover.
Wishing Land Rover a very happy 70th birthday.
Wishing Land Rover a happy 70th birthday.
Happy 70th birthday, Land Rover.
I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Congratulations on such a milestone.
I'd like to wish Land Rover a very happy 70th birthday.
Happy birthday, Land Rover.
Congratulations, Land Rover, on being 70 years old. And thank you for always being reliable when sometimes the British weather isn't.
Happy 70th birthday, Land Rover.
Happy 70th anniversary to Land Rover, what an incredible milestone.
To many more occasions for birthday celebration with Land Rover.
Happy birthday!
Very happy birthday, Land Rover.
Happy 70th birthday, Land Rover.
Happy birthday, Land Rover. 70 years, come on. That's amazing.
So my role as Chief Design Officer at Land Rover is really about visioning the future. Design is the glue that pulls everything together and also has the ability to enrich people's lives. And design isn't just about the aesthetic, it's about the essence of the whole product and what that means, how you use it, how it functions. Yeah, how it looks is clearly fundamentally important because that's what attracts you to it in the first place. For me, it's about creating products that truly resonate on an emotional level with our customers. People literally fall in love with our vehicles. They have an emotional attachment with them. In terms of my favourite models, past and present, I still love the original Range Rover. It changed the perception of what a luxury vehicle could be. I suppose my favourite vehicle to date probably is the Range Rover Velar because it shows a way forward in terms of the execution of its modernity, and it shows how you can take a brand and change its image completely. I work very closely with my colleagues in engineering and brand to vision the future. At the moment we are developing a whole new generation of vehicles. At Land Rover we don't do ordinary, and we never will.
My name is Ian Lowe and I manage a team to explore and investigate materials. Some of the work we do is looking at how materials are affected with age and with time and with use. And we make sure that when the end car is delivered it is as good as it should be.
We've got 2 off-road testing facilities and the cars were performing differently. So I was brought some mud and I was asked to analyse it and see if we could narrow down why there was a difference.
We've had to characterise mud and dust from around the world, so we have to check our materials are not affected by that type of mud.
All the technologies that we have in Land Rovers are there to make driving off-road better. So that's from terrain response, hill descent control, all the camera systems that we have in the vehicle are there to make it easier for people to drive off-road. My job is to make sure that the Land Rovers that we produce are the most capable cars that they can be. I studied mechanical engineering. My family had a Defender when I was growing up, and I've always loved cars, so Land Rover seemed like the natural place to look for a job, and I love working here.
My name is Becky McLarnon and I am a human factor specialist at Jaguar Land Rover. My job role entails understanding the physical and psychological capabilities of people all around the world. I then model these in a virtual environment and we can then apply this to the development of our vehicles. Ergonomics is the science of designing for people. It's a multifaceted discipline which draws on psychology, anatomy and biomechanics. It's crucial that we understand the behavioural characteristics of people so that we can then design suitable solutions. We use virtual technology, for example motion capture, as part of a user-centred design approach. This means that we can assess vehicles very early on in the design phase when it's much easier to make any changes.
Initialising the steering. Engaging auto drive.
At the moment we're discovering what challenges there are with self-driving.
Autonomy will help shape the futuring of Jaguar Land Rover because we're hoping to take away the more stressful bits of driving that you don't enjoy.
From the very first bit, from writing the code to researching about it and then actually implementing it on a car and then seeing it work is absolutely exciting.
Eventually that goes out to be tested on road. It's so fulfilling to see the car doing what you're asking it to do through the software.
I think engineers from 1948 would be amazed at what the technology today is capable of doing. They'd be slightly scared to see a machine being so much in control, but I think ultimately they'd be absolutely amazed at what we've achieved as an industry.
We have a radio show where we often ask people if they could have a dream garage of 5 cars, what would they put in it? And I must say at least 90%, and this is all celebrities that we speak to, at least 90% of them include a Defender. It's probably the most chosen car out of everyone we've asked over the last couple of years, and for good reason. It's amazing, it's an icon. You know, there are no challenges with a Land Rover because it just embraces them all. So it's that spirit of adventure, plus the fact that you know Land Rovers have been there and done it. You know, if these cars could talk, the things they could tell you are just unbelievable. And you look at the associations as well. Serrano Fines, of course, has travelled and explored the world using Land Rovers. You look at the adventures that Bear Grylls has been on, from his military days through to his now TV superstardom, and the things that he's able to do with it. The go-anywhere capabilities of a Land Rover. Oh, I mean, who doesn't want that? You know, the fact is that when you see a Land Rover on the road, whatever iteration it is, you know it's something a bit special. You know, if you see one of the classic Defenders just cruising around, you know that that's got a story to tell. You know that it's seen something, be it used on a farm or just taken a few cool people around Chelsea for whatever reason. You know that this is a car that's done things, that's lived a life. The capabilities make it so desirable and so fascinating. I think maybe the word is intriguing. You know, Land Rover is an intriguing brand because it means so much. It's not just a car that can go fast. It's not just a car that sits above other cars in the traffic. It's not just a car that has those cool arms when you're driving and you can relax and just have a lovely time with it. It's a car that can do anything, and that's awesome. You know, people love that.
I think really we were looking over 26 years. We did 8 Land Rover expeditions into the biggest sand desert in the world, the Rub al-Khali, or Empty Quarter, looking for a lost frankincense city of the Queen of Sheba. And Marco Polo wrote about it. We had clues, historical clues. My late wife and I and a team and an American film team looked for the lost city. And on the 5th expedition looking for it, we found 300 miles into the sand dunes a pillar. So the champagne bottles came out, you know, we found it and all that. And about 2 months later, after archaeologizing all around the pillar, we found nothing else. And as sand usually covers things up like the pillar, it was a bit odd. And eventually our archaeologist, Dr. Yuri Zarins, the best in the world, he decided it was probably our rivals, the German archaeologists, had hired a helicopter and dropped the pillar off to keep us busy that year. We never did prove that, but and on the 8th expedition, that was the 5th, we eventually found the lost city, and today it's the biggest excavation works in Arabia. Well, for many reasons. You're going back and forth for supplies and water and everything else like that into the desert. And there's a lot of gravel, not just sand. And the only alternative, which was the Toyota Land Cruiser, you get a lot of accidents turning in corners and all the rest of it with any weight on board. They haven't got good balance, whereas the long wheelbase Land Rover, which we used, has got very good balance, and it's so simple that people without much training could repair things pretty easily. And yeah, rugged, dependable, and things like on the second generation that we had, the Discovery, not the Defender, the American film teams in huge sandstorms, and we've got big pictures of some of these incredible sandstorms, afterwards they said they'd been in sandstorms all over the world, but never had their equipment in the back of the Land Rovers been completely dust-free, as in the Discovery. The seals were just brilliant. Little things like that. I think the hot deserts were not as difficult for us as the ice in the Bering Straits off Alaska in this vehicle here. We eventually took the wheels off and put tracks on for the first time. Each track weighed nearly 90 pounds. And then when you get past the nasty soft snow areas, you take those tracks off and put the wheels back on again. It's quite simple and quite quick. And we arrived one morning in Nome, Alaska, the village of Nome, having got over sort of Breakheart Pass area. And we thought, well, we did it by night. In the morning, we'll take the tracks off, put the wheels back on, and the village of the Nome people say, you got across that with wheels? That was just a joke. But yeah, that was very, very tough. And we taught these vehicles to swim in 12-foot waves and to go over ice and snow. And when you arrived out of the sea amongst the floating icebergs and you get to what you hope is land ice, you would then get somebody off, get a big anchor, and then winch the vehicle on a catamaran in. The catamaran, when the Land Rover then backs off the catamaran, becomes a sledge. So you can then use it as a sledge behind the Land Rover. And it was the first vehicle that could literally go across land from Ireland to Canada with the driver permanently in the cab. And we used to steer the outboards on the back of the catamaran, which was designed to fit the Land Rover, from the power takeoff on the vehicle, which is there for farmers. So we changed mechanical into hydraulics.
The Water Diaries is my project. I'm a geography teacher and it's my attempt to bring adventure into the classroom. I joined with the RGS and Land Rover. We worked on developing a new model Discovery and sort of transforming it into a mobile classroom. We shipped it to Jordan and then we drove across the country exploring water issues as we went. I guess for me what makes Land Rover special and what has made it such a venerated brand for the last 70 years is it's just its capability. It's a vehicle that will get you anywhere. It will take you anywhere, from the Saharan desert to the Himalayas, or in my case, the southern deserts in the Middle East. It was an absolute pleasure to work with Land Rover, and it's a pleasure to be here for the 70th birthday, and I'm sure there'll be another fantastic 70 years to come. I guess through my adventures I've learned that exploration today isn't just about being the first to go to somewhere. It's about going somewhere and seeing it sometimes with new eyes and using the stories that you bring back to engage and to inspire people to see the world a little differently. Having a vehicle that you could completely trust, that was capable and you could totally rely on, meant that we could go farther and we could go to places we wouldn't have went otherwise. Land Rover has taken us to the Dead Sea, to the depths of the Wadi Rum Desert in Jordan, and it meant that we could, I guess we could just rely on what we had to do, and we could get the assets and just do the job that we wanted to do. The Land Rover RGS bursary is an opportunity, I guess, to go farther than you might be able to go by yourself. To work with two institutions, the Royal Geographical Society and Land Rover, And to have their support in undertaking a challenging, meaningful journey is just, for me, it was a massive opportunity, and it allowed us to go above and beyond what we normally would do.
Well, first of all, we're here today celebrating 70 years, so it's a celebration, it's a party in a way. I think that Land Rover over the years has managed to stay relevant by creating vehicles that are not ordinary, vehicles that have resonated with customers, with people all over the world for many years. They actually created new market segments. So Land Rover has never done ordinary, and I suppose in the last 10, 15 years we've really pushed Land Rover along in terms of giving it more universal appeal, which is clearly resonating in the marketplace. But the bottom line is Land Rover does have a unique DNA, it has a unique personality that people really have that emotional connection with. People literally love our vehicles, right from the earliest vehicles to the very modern, relevant vehicles we have today. So for example, a Defender had got this very simple shape and it went on to become an icon. In fact, the Defender is such a simple shape, even a child could draw one, and it had that elemental nature to it which people really connected to. And then much later, of course, vehicles like the Range Rover Evoque, which was a new type of Land Rover, totally new to the market, really connected with people because of its extremely characterful design, the rising belt line, the falling roof, that sort of British cheekiness. So much so it went on to sell 125,000 vehicles, or approximately 125,000 vehicles every year for nearly 7 years. And then of course things like the Range Rover, the flagship, which is what I'm standing next to. There is nothing else in the marketplace like a Range Rover. It has that peerlessness. When we talk to our customers about how you'd like to see it change, they say don't change it, just make it better. And what we've seen with Range Rover is elevating it to much higher levels and amplifying that luxurious nature that it has. Ending or currently with what you can see over there, which is the Range Rover SV Coupe, which is a very exclusive, very rare and incredibly desirable Range Rover. I still have a soft spot for Defender in the way that's evolved into what is an iconic vehicle. And some of the last ones that we produced before it stopped production, one of those, it would be one of my favourites. But then looking on, I still have a soft spot for, when I say looking on, for Range Rover in terms of the Evoque, because it changed the way people saw the brand. It brought a whole new group of customers to us, and it actually transformed our business, most importantly, through design. That combination of design integrity, design excellence combined with engineering capability, that duality that made it so unique.
I think it's fantastic that it's Land Rover's 70th birthday this year, and it's testament to a brand that's able to stay true to its core principles and values, but reinvent itself to be relevant to customers as they change throughout that time. So the technology today, for example, that's available in our cars that helps people get places where most vehicles can't get them is still relevant today, but done obviously in a very different way, and I think that's Land Rover's charm. Land Rover is one of those few special brands across any sector that just has instant appeal and charm, and I think there's many factors involved with that. I think the distinctive design of the cars, right back to the first series Land Rovers and that iconic shape. The fact that these vehicles are designed just to go anywhere, to be the most capable, robust vehicles ever designed, and you can see that. And it's one of those vehicles that even small children just love to climb into because it's so different to everything else that's available on the market. Everyone makes SUVs these days, but only Land Rover make cars that are so distinctive in their segment as Land Rover does. We have over 58, I think it is now, Land Rover Experience Centres around the world. Over 50 years old now since our first one. And I think for Land Rover it's a key differentiator because we have this spirit of adventure and go anywhere attitude. And for many people that maybe drive their cars in urban settings, they don't really have a chance ever to see what that actually means. So I always liken it to people that buy an expensive diver's watch and that never go 3,000 feet beneath the sea. Actually, we want to take people to 3,000 feet. We want to show them the cars they bought, the engineering that's gone into the vehicles they've chosen, and show just how capable and astonishing these are. Brands that have been around for 70 years are there for a reason, and it's because they've managed to keep what's core and dear to them, but obviously reinvent themselves to be relevant. And I think the next 70 years, that's going to be absolutely crucial for Land Rover. As technology changes, as we look at electrification, as we look at autonomous driving, we've got to keep Land Rover core to what it's always been best at in terms of the adventurer car, the most capable vehicle in its class, but actually also embrace those new technologies.
What I think makes them so special and loved is they always look fit for purpose, especially when you put them in their natural environment and you're there and you're looking for an adventure, looking for something to inspire you, to a little bit of travel, and that's what I think personally inspires me to get up in the morning and say, right, what can we do with the Land Rover today? Where can we go? Yeah. So it's a two-part with number 7. So we want to preserve the fantastic pattern of the vehicles acquired over the last 70 years, along with reinstalling some of its original features from when it was launched at the Amsterdam show. And that's not really an easy task, because you've got to, try and preserve the old and recreate what's no longer there. So we've got effectively a two-part program. There's parts which are going to take off and be preserved. Obviously the engine needs a full restoration and the transmission, but then we've got to create some parts that haven't existed for 70 years. So it's a very, very interesting project. I think the relevance comes down to creativity, and if you look at number 7, there's a lot of engineering creativity in the vehicle. That's one of the things we're going to reinstall into it, especially into its four-wheel drive system, which had a very, very clever step, which wasn't used at the time, but evolved everything that Maurice Wilkes and his team wanted to put into vehicles, and that's still relevant today with the modern products and systems like terrain response. The engineering creativity that the original team put into the vehicles in 1948 has obviously lived on into today, and I can't see that changing or stopping anywhere in the near future.
So Land Rover, we're celebrating 70 years today. I would say we are still young, we are just beginning. We've seen so much change over the years, and we've always pioneered. I promise you, we've just started, and the next generation of Land Rovers that come out will keep on conquering and pioneering exactly like all the others did. So Land Rover, after 70 years, is so relevant because it's all about authenticity, it's all about that capability, but it's all about making a vehicle to change people's lives, to create memories. And people enjoy the whole world in their Land Rover, or they just enjoy every day going to work. It's that duality and that capability of Land Rover, that depth of the product, the stunning design, and that capability that just keeps Land Rover relevant. Land Rover is so special to everybody because it's part of their lives. The capability of these vehicles means that you can go anywhere and do anything on any terrain. And it's that lifestyle and that's that feeling of freedom that you always have in a Land Rover. No matter what's happening, you can always go there. If you're in a Range Rover, you're in a Velo, you're in an Evoque, or you're in a Discovery, all of those vehicles can absolutely push the boundaries and create stories for life. So to ask me which Land Rover is my favourite is like asking a father of many children, which is your favourite child? You cannot possibly do that. But I love Land Rover, every single one, for what it creates, that vehicle and that image that it creates, all the way from the first Land Rover in 1948, where the Wilkes brothers created something that conquered the world, all the way through to the Range Rover. The breadth of capability of the Range Rover can go absolutely anywhere.
I've owned about, and I'm not absolutely sure, I must count them up one day, I've owned 7 Land Rovers and 10 Range Rovers, approximately. So yeah, look, I've got it completely bad. I love them, and so do my children and the whole family. It is one of those things that we could never really imagine life without one. I think the thing about Land Rovers, which is so compelling, is that it gives you those infinite horizons. You can literally go wherever you want. You can realize your dreams. When the road stops, you don't have to. And I've got a daughter who, when she was 13, she just wept when we sold the Land Rover, because for her, It was her way of just exploring the world from her little seat in her quiet zone in the back of this 7-seater Land Rover. Well, Land Rover it's more than just a brand. It's a British engineering institution. So you could go to an equatorial desert, to a desert or a jungle, and you can show somebody a silhouette of a Land Rover, and they know exactly what it is. But you could show them a Mini or a Ford Cortina, and they wouldn't know it from Adam. But they'll know a Land Rover. So it is the most recognizable car in the entire world. So I'm working on the Classic Car Show Series 2. I also do a fuel campaign, Fair Fuel UK. I'm also involved with the government talking about electrification, autonomous cars of the future. Okay, we're at the Classic Works in Coventry, which is the biggest car restoration, classic car restoration facility in the world, and we're celebrating the 70th birthday of Land Rover. And it's this fantastic British invention, this achievement that has wowed the world. I mean, the world looks at Land Rovers and Range Rovers and they sigh in admiration. So this is a big birthday party to celebrate all that ingenuity and all that technological prowess, all that employment, all those jobs, all that. The word here is just quite simply brilliance. Land Rover was very important to the world because it was the first really successful 4x4. I mean, the Jeep was okay, but when it came to really doing everything and using farm machinery and conquering deserts and jungles and ice packs and things like that, the Land Rover was it. And it's been imitated by virtually every other car manufacturer in the world, but never ever bettered. The future for Land Rover is really, really exciting. I mean, we've already got electric and hybrid Land Rovers. Hybrid Range Rover I drove the other day, fantastic. And I can't tell you exactly what, but I know there's going to be a pure electric Land Rover. So all that brilliance, all that technical audacity will be put into the Land Rovers of the future. And it's places like this where you will see that tremendous engineering leaps, because this is a company that is able to do that relatively quickly.
I'm lead instructor over at Land Rover Experience at Solihull, and I have a team. We'll work together to deliver some great guest experiences. We've got a team who deliver not only event drives but also bespoke drive experiences. At Solihull we've got the historic jungle track. So vehicles have been driving around there since they started being built at the plant. So we've got that as our really special factor. We also have the factory tour, so we can show guests how the vehicles are actually built, and then we can take them off-road and show them what the vehicles are actually capable of doing. Technology is moving on at a pace, and experience will evolve with it. So we have plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, we've got electric vehicles coming, and experience is going to be right there in the forefront of these new technologies. My first memory of Land Rover would be my own Land Rover, which was a Discovery 1. And that was the first vehicle that enabled me to get out and about with my horses and really start living my life in the automotive industry.
Well, as Mr. Land Rover, I'm proud to be called Mr. Land Rover because there have been Mr. Land Rovers before me, especially Tom Barton, who is the Chief Engineer and Engineering Director of Land Rover, so I'm honoured that I have that title after him. Land Rover has changed and evolved. The most important thing, it's never lost its core value of being a fantastic off-road vehicle, but it has changed from a utility vehicle into more of a passenger carrying vehicle. And that's because it's what customers have asked us to do. So from the original idea of being a vehicle for the farmer to use, to becoming a passenger carrying vehicle, right through to what we created with Range Rover back in 1970, the trend has been for more creature comforts but never take away its off-road ability that the vehicle has always had. I think my personal highlight, well, there are several really, but it started with qualifying as an engineer and being selected to work on the original Range Rover programme to get the vehicle into production. And 3 engineers and a team of designers put that vehicle into production in just over 3 years. The way that the brand will evolve, I will think it will just go from strength to strength. And you can see with the models that our design team today are bringing to market, I think we have a fantastic future.